Jinx hasn't hit his
I
button.
I just pushed my button 5 seconds ago. Button has been pushed.
Hello.
Aloha.
Penis.
Mm-hmm. Business as usual for our merry lot of misfits.
I'm doing homework while doing
Hey,
this.
I resemble that remark.
I'm doing homework. Let me have my fun.
I'm not saying you can't have your fun. I would just like Roll20 to stop being a little bastard.
Yeah, right?
Okay. Now, while I open the character sheets... wait, I also need music.
Mm-hmm.
Music! Oh my god, Roll20, please.
Oh, I have my Toho music open. It was keeping me sane through grinding Poggos yesterday.
We will use...
Grind is ridiculous.
Nope, didn't mean to click that one.
Well, Celestine found his chew toy again.
What's this one? The moment when you got songs, you don't remember what they are.
Right.
It sounds like AOL dial-up, but less scary.
Hmm.
And even that's very faint. No. Where the fuck is it? You know, we'll go up to the old classic from. Where is it? God damn it! These things are hardly organized. There it is. There we go. Pull back out. Crunk Knight! Okie dokie. Welcome to episode 30 of Elemental Odyssey.
33.
33. Whatever. Numbers are hard. I have minor headache, but don't worry about it.
I'm not worried.
My spine. But yes, following the Tenchi Muyo antics of last week's episode.
That was more Ranma 1/2.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely right. Absolutely. Following Chiakio nearly getting abducted by a very horny dragon lady. And everyone having their little shopping montages to various successes, which reminds me I need to double back on the pretend list with that. But you all begin to well, you reconvene at whatever, I forget what the hotel you guys are staying at was called. Because Wiretap was the tavern you stopped at for lunch.
I don't remember the name of the Were we staying at a hotel or were we just...
There was a hotel. There was a hotel in the city, but the night before the whole warehouse incident,
We
you
slept in
guys
the party
just
bus.
slept in your party bus in the middle of, just off the side of the road.
I don't remember the name of it either.
I thought we were just sleeping in our party bus the entire time.
No, that you guys had to hit a hotel the day of everything going to shit before you got to fight the paladin who gave Kel the fears.
Name it the
But,
Prancing Pony.
No, it was some like it was an electrical pun. I'd have to go back to the whatever episode it was and look it again. But either way, y'all wake up, convene at the party bus, and start making your merry way out of town. So you are no longer in Megas. I'm sure you do, Snack. I'm sure you do. And since you guys are going to be moving, I'm going to move this, go to GM layer. move this to here, and then put that in the token layer so you can see where you've been.
Ignis Reef is in northwestern Nexima, right?
Yes. But since this is a globe, you can go this way and get to here.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, the reef is exactly this giant spot right here.
We got a long way to go.
Yeah, and most of a continent to get through.
I'm sure nothing bad will happen to us on the way there.
You'll find out. But leaving the city, you see, now that over the course of like the week you've been there, and while you're doing all your other stuff, getting your things, acquiring upgrades, reading books, and yada yada blah blah blah. A lot of like proper military and like rescue machinery and workers were just running through the city just to make sure that, you know, it was a pretty quick attack, and it was also ended very quickly by way of you guys kind of shitting on the leader. So it didn't escalate further than it could have. But there's a lot of like relief work going on as you guys are heading your way out of town. You do get stopped as you're leaving, but one of the guys who stops you recognizes you because he was one of the cops who went with you through the portal to the warehouse, and he's like, "Oh well, you're fine. Go," because he knows you guys ain't up to shit. You helped stop all the shit.
Thanks, mate.
No problem. And you are then free to leave and continue out the giant cave tunnel out of this mountain range. And eventually you come out into actual daylight for the first time in about 9-ish days? Actually, no, you're still there. Because you guys are there for about, yeah, almost 10 days total.
Non-artificial sunlight. Woohoo.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Good actual real sun.
And you're all like kind of bracing yourself because you're like, Megas, city of robot, land of all the robots, there's got to be like chrome everywhere. My eyes. Please God, no.
I can see Padma wearing the deal with it shades already.
She probably is, full honesty.
Oh yeah, no, she absolutely has a pair of hater shades.
Oh yeah. Didn't Elena get the shades in Miami?
Yeah, you still have those too.
Oh yes.
They are on Eleanor's sheet. There's a spot where you just click on it, it'll roll the effect of them. It should be under your traits, I believe, near the bottom on the right.
Wait, they're called the Shades of Miami?
Yes.
Yeah, you make a horrible pun and then they do damage.
Yes. Yeah, see? There's what they do, according to Snake. Once a long rest. Say a pun. Yeah! Beam! D&D Beyond is great. Anyway. Come out.
Undead enemies have disadvantage on the saving throw. What?
Don't worry about it. But
It's because it's CSI Miami, which deals with, you know, dead bodies, so... Undead and ooze.
But yeah, coming out of the tunnel into the actual daylight, the only one who knows what most of mainland Danakmos looks like is basically just Padma. Who's, well, she's passed through a few times because Bard. But you...
This far over, what is Danakmos like?
Well, I'm still going with the thing. Anyway, coming out, you see, you're again expecting chrome everything, like giant cybernetic fucking future tech, look like, I don't know, the fucking inside of the goddamn Death Star, just open air. Not really.
Can you
Like,
imagine the AC it would take to keep that place cool anyway?
Yeah, I know, right? They'd have to be down in Volsung or up north, way up north. But it's kind of a savanna almost. Like there's still plants, there's still, foliage, but you can definitely tell that things aren't quite fully what you'd expect. Because you pass by, you see what looks like just a steel sphere in the road, on the side of the road, and as you're driving past, it pops open. It's a metal-plated armadillo who scurries away.
Ooh.
You also hear some interesting, with the windows down a few times to get some air in the car, and also so Celestine can stick his head out the window. As you do when you're a boof. Here's some interesting, almost, it sounds akin to hearing birds chirping alongside bells chiming. And indeed, there are some unfamiliar, rather interesting looking birds flying overhead in a few places, or just perched in trees and chirp and singing, because they are happy birds.
More like horny birds.
Well, whatever the reason, they sing about something. And passing by one of the few trees, you notice that you can tell it's like a real living thing, but at the same time, it still looks slightly artificial, in the sense that it looks like someone painstakingly carved every facet and imperfection of just a naturally growing wooden tree out of metal. Down to the color, the texture, everything, but you can tell because of the way it catches light and glints in places, it's metal. Or at least metallic. In general, the whole place kind of reminds you of basically just metallic paint on everything for its proper colors. You do spot some obviously created structures in a few places, but some of it looks like just surprisingly a few of them are farms.
Probably wind turbine farms.
No, I mean actual growing plants farms.
Metal cow!
You do indeed pass one thing that's not cows, sheepies. Metal sheepies.
So that's where we get steel wool.
Yes. They're just these silver gray sheepies just grazing.
Not exactly what I expected.
Does have that effect on people.
Mm-hmm.
Anything in particular you can tell us about Denakmos that we can't obviously see?
Would you like the DM to take over for that explanation?
Please.
Okay. Just because of this, I'm not going to have you roll, because it's you've got a long enough car trip that you can mull over everything, and if you need help, frickin' you got Google on your phone. So, Denakmos, along with, or at least the vast majority of it, basically that entire tan brown area and that little is the savanna land where there's still the metallic plants. The light gray off to the left side is just a desert. It's often called the glass desert because given the metallicness of everything, it looks it's all the granules of it are made of glass, colorful glass. It's not just actually desert color. I just use that to mark it on the map.
That's why I have these on, and she tilts the hater shades, because they get to blinding drive through here on very bright days.
Mm-hmm.
So I've noticed a little bit. Squints.
Yeah. Then there's right next to the right of where most of the word ends is that area is the steam forest, which think rainforest, but well, pressure cooker. It's very, very warm there. Very warm, very wet. Just, you know, exactly what you think from a place called the Steam Forest. It has the most, like, typically natural foliage on this part of the continent. And it's also not the most hospitable to most normal people. It is very popular. It's typically like, we're gonna like, if you live in the Steam Forest, you probably like a fire dragon or a metal dragon or a water dragon. Like one of those three, because if you're not, you probably ain't gonna like it there. For one reason or another. Let me see. Ah, yes. What also is another thing that Padma mentions, which you sort of got kind of a glimpse of when you were milling around Megas for that week or so, especially now that you've all to some degree seen the main inhabitants of Danakmos, the Zal, a bit more up close. Oh, what is being said over here? Okay, now. Good God.
Steam Forest, brought to you by Valve.
Steam Forest brought to you by Valve. But yeah, continuing on. You got a glimpse of it because you saw this all in far greater numbers than you do otherwise in other parts of the world. They have just an eclectic range of appearances. From, you know, like almost indistinguishable from human, like humanoid, but still very clearly beep boop, to whatever the fuck they feel like, which in a few cases was like floating geometric shapes with like hands and feet and faces. And in at least one instance, there was one that looked like a cat. It was like a typical house cat, but, well, robot. So as you're going along, and you see a few, like, what just look like animals watching you as you, like, go past. Padma very easily notes, like, don't discount that as not being an actual Zal, because they have a
bit more freedom when it comes to that.
It's take the concept of being gender fluid and ratchet it up to everything fluid. Like beyond being sentient, there is no like definitive you should be this if you are a Zal. They just let individuals form whatever kind of appearance they want and live like that. As long as you ain't fucking up someone's shit, they ain't gonna stop you. But the moment you turn into like Edward gun arms and start shooting up the place, then they're gonna stop you. Meanwhile, if you're freaking like Edward Scissorhands and just go around like trimming shrubbery all real nice, they ain't gonna do shit. So like even a few passing cars going the other way, it's very strange to see what, by all accounts, looks just like a normal, if robotic dog driving a Lamborghini with sunglasses, just going past the other direction. Who naturally, upon seeing Kel as being Celestine, lets out a howl, and does Celestine howl back?
Oh.
Oh.
Quiet, you'll start a howling.
That was a fun part of Zootopia.
I think of the scene from 101 Dalmatians, but anyway.
That's the Twilight bark.
That one. But carrying on. There's a few, like very clearly, those towns that just kind of spring up along roadways from long like road trips. A lot. Like it's a town you'd never really think to stop, but people actually live there. You just pass through it when you're going somewhere else. There's quite a few of those.
Sounds like my hometown.
But a few times you see kind of off in the distance as you're can you go down because you get about over the day you come around here. It's by all accounts surprisingly, calm drive, but then it's very large, flat-ish open area. And well, not a lot of really good hiding spots for someone to jump out at you. There's like a few little hills every so often, or like just like small outcroppings of metallic looking rock that look like they might have a cave in them. But your better judgment tells you to stay away from those because metallic rock cave, something probably lives there and it might not appreciate you knocking on the door. You also occasionally see in the distance a few like clearly modern cities, but they're like well off the path you're taking because you do have a GPS thing telling you which way to go to make it to the reef from where you're at without having to go back the way you came and down around that way for some convoluted bullshittery.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. Notes. Roll for things and stuff happening. The fuck is it with you guys and not getting anything to happen while you're on the road? How?
Everything that would screw with us senses the justice on the bus and doesn't want to mess with it.
Pretty much. You also discover another upgrade apparently that Snek had installed in Snekbot because a few times Snekbot presses his eye to the window and you see your camera clicking. It just means like just one sideways thing because I imagine Snek would install cameras in the robot.
Yeah.
So yeah, Snek is using Snekbot to take pictures.
He's got to recount to all his grandchildren.
How interesting a place Snakmos is, yeah. Let's see. Scar is driving. Okay. Fuck, I'm not sure what to do now. Fuck, I'm at a loss now.
Yaku's just randomly holding Padma's hand so long as it's free and she's not uncomfortable with it.
Honestly, I was gonna say Padma might be laying sideways on a seat with her head in your lap as she's reading.
That works too.
Easy game.
In that case, Yaku is just taking in the sights because he hasn't really seen Danakmos because he's never actually been there.
Well, now he's having a chance to get a pretty good look at it. Okay. But apart from passing by those few farms, seeing the occasional odd metallic critter of some report, occasionally passing by someone going the other direction, it's not the most eventful first day to pass through here. So you're kind of surprised that like it's taking you this long and you haven't seen a town.
Hey Padma, are cities in Danakmos fairly spread out?
Surprisingly, yes. Believe it has to do with something keeping keeping from burning up too much of the land with how much high-powered air conditioner they have to use. You have too many big cities in the one place, you just have barren deserts. Like, worse than this.
Oh yeah, and along the way you actually get a... It's distant, but you can kind of get a glimpse of the glass desert.
Is it actually shiny and kind of indicative of its name, at least at a distance?
Very much so, because like there's very much... It's very just on like the edge of the horizon, but you see a lot of like glinting and sparkling. And it's like, what the hell? And then Padma's like, glass desert.
I can see why it is so named.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. He's driving. Who all is looking out the windows?
Snack
Shiakio
goes.
Snack Shiakio. I assume Celestine has his head out a window, Cal?
Yep.
Okay, I need all three of you to make perception checks, please.
I would assume Snickbot as well if he's taking pictures. You said perception?
Yes.
7.
Snack is like, I see everything.
I was about to say 19 for my roll. I was like, no, wait, that's not me. I'm distracted with pretty woman in my lap. Not paying too much attention to what I'm seeing outside.
Curious, can I roll for Dimitri because he might be staring outside a window too?
He probably is. Dimitri perception roll.
Strange is
D20
staring at
plus
some sort of technological book.
20 plus
D20.
8 for,
8?
8 for Dimitri. Plus 8.
Okay.
Dimitri's kind of like trying to look out the window, but it gets a little too bright, so he's like ducks back inside. Like, yeah. It's a bit too bright for little Griff.
Jacchio.
No, he just perches himself on like Padma's lap, even though she's reading a book. He's
Pretty
letting
good
himself be used as a prop a few times. He doesn't mind. Yeah. Thank you.
I think he's talking with Karuna.
Ah. Okay. Shiakio, you're too distracted to like really pay attention. You just like see, oh, that's a neat like rock formation over there. Oh, hey, is that a mountain? Ooh, that's an interesting tree. That's about all you get. Celestine, you're just like, this place smells funny, but it still looks like Mama had her hand here, so it's a good place. You also, every time you pass a tree, if you so much as think you see a squirrel in there, you bark at it. At least once or twice, there was indeed a metal squirrel in there, and it ran away from you.
Victory.
Defeat the mecha squirrels.
Wait, are we gonna fight squirrels?
No.
I
There's
rolled
just
for
squirrels
perception. You just, if you thought you saw a squirrel in a tree, you barked at it.
Oof.
You were successful twice. Squirrels did indeed flee from your barf. I just say bark and boof at the same time. Jesus. Okay.
Barf. Baroof. Baoof.
Boof. Yes, and for Snack, your very rapt attention. Also, very glad you have your nice fancy goggles because, oh boy, you're pretty sure this place would be hurting your eyes something fierce.
Yep.
But you're very much making note of like the topography a little bit, some of the more interesting like rocky portions you pass by, because there's a few like little, you know, not fully like savanna grasslandy. There's like just some patches of just rocks in a few places, and you're just like, ooh, may have to just like keep note of it. You like check your little GPS, you're like, oh no, this place, boop. Boop, 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 boop. You're getting all the deets that are relevant to your interests. You pass a few times that you swear you see, like repeatedly you keep thinking you see a structure, but then you think, we are still kind of close to that glass desert. It might just actually be a mirage.
Oh.
Or just at least actually like messing with you, because like it's far away, and even with the mask protecting your eyes, it still kind of hurts looking the direction of the desert for too long because it's really fucking bright.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, with the sunlight in around now, it'd be around 2-ish. As 2-ish in the afternoon as this is happening. Pass a few road signs. You also sort of, it's like you have to, you look up and you almost ignore it, but then because you're like, okay, looking up, go back to notes. Wait a minute, what was that? And look back up. You see about 100, about 200, 300-ish feet away from off the side of the road you guys are traveling down, some like a chain link fence, at least in a few places. Then it starts out chain link in place, then it becomes like an actual solid like wall, but before you can, but you don't see like anything on the other side of it, at least not from where you're at. If there is, it's probably too far away, and eventually the fence does like stop, and you guys just keep going past it.
I see.
You didn't catch any like markings or anything like that. You just know that there is something fenced / walled off along the way.
Very slightly unnerving, but okay.
Area 51.
It's either an abandoned farm or Area 50 fucking 1.
Or
No,
yes.
that would be Facility 7 on this planet.
Oh boy.
It's always come up in like it's always got the same name. There's always like multiple thing, like there's more than one place called Facility 7 in multiple parts of the planet. The most famous one, it just happens to be the one in Denakmos because, well, robots. But the biggest piece of info you got out of there was this: when you passed that road sign, said you guys probably got another 20 miles to the next town.
Okay.
Yeah, that's typical out here.
Sounds really all spread out.
Well, carrying on from that, and this is the thing I should have had Padma mention earlier, they're spread out on surface level. The towns tend to go underground fairly regularly. And it's the reason they're so spread out so that like the towns can expand underground, kind of like a hive or just group of tunnels.
Better air coolant that way.
Mm-hmm. And then if need be, if like they have super pressing need, then they can start expanding upwards. But for the most part, they go down to what they determine to be a safe distance, and then just kind of, you know, more like a colony of ants.
It's easier to maintain a cooler air temperature down below the surface than it is above.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Oh, my back.
Did the sign say what the next town was called, or just was like...
Let me get out my list of town names. Fuck. I thought I had it open. God damn it. No. No, not that one. This one. That would be... Oh, god damn it, past me, you didn't have more. A
little bit more of that.
The next town coming up is Urik. Urik. Or Urik, however you pronounce that.
Would Padma happen to know anything about Urik? Because Bard.
For that, roll history.
Character sheet, come here.
You're thinking about Urik Dinakmos. You don't remember much, but then it wasn't a town you like stayed in for very long. It seemed nice, and you recall that there was a it's one of the few towns in Dinakmos next to a lake. Not a very big one, but there is a body of water by the town.
Okay, I relay
Like,
that.
by all accounts, it was fairly plain by city standards. It didn't go that deep. It's not a particularly old city. It's roughly about 150 years old at the most. So they haven't tunneled that deep underground yet for it. But it does have like a fair space underground. Then, you know, a lot more of it is at least mostly at surface level.
Okay.
You did recall one thing in particular, however, they had did pass a gift shop that apparently the town also has a very interesting mascot. It's a little oh fuck, what was it?
Was it a pangolin?
Yes, thank you. Word was escaping me. It's a little. They have the town of Urik's like parent mascot is a little metal pangolin, and you remember seeing like little soft plushes of him. You got one for your siblings last time you passed through. And you, and as the whole bus gets like within 10 miles of the town, you start understanding a bit more why, because well, everyone who hasn't been here before understands a bit better why. The metal pangolins are about the size of jaguars. They're big roly-poly boys.
Well, I mean, you know the bugs that the metal bugs that we got attacked with back at the Ruin of Conflict? That's probably what the pangolins eat.
That is what they eat. Not those particular ones, but one similar to it. They eat them.
Crunchy.
Mm-hmm. It's not unlike that one fire anteater Pokemon in Durant. It's about like that, except well, the pangolins can't breathe fire. They're just very persistent.
I mean, I wouldn't want to get hit with a giant tail made out of metal.
Yeah, no, they're some fairly big pangolins. Big metal pangolins.
Would kind of be breaking my promise to probably keep most of my blood in my body.
Oh yeah, no, like well, to be fair, they're very docile creatures. They're just big and kind of intimidating, but unless you fuck with them, they ain't gonna do shit. Unless you're one of them bugs, in which case they will like just jump on you and eat you. Like there is no chill with these guys and the various strider bugs.
I'll make sure.
Out into Nakmos. They hungry. When they see one, they hungry.
I'll make sure not to be carrying one then.
Well, it's not hard. And because you actually at one point notice one of these things is eating one, and the one it's eating, not quite as big as the ones you guys fought, but it's still about the size of a golden retriever. It's still a big bug, and it's getting eaten by this panther-sized fucking pangolin made of metal.
How long have we been traveling? This is still day one, right?
Yeah, this is still day one. You guys reach Uruk around 4:30, 4:40.
Okay.
And as it gets closer, it looks about like what you would expect from like a kind of rural town. And you're like, this is surface level, not underground, but you can see a few spots like Uruk underground this way once you start rolling into the city.
Do we want to stop here and rest, or do we want to push and spend the night in the bus?
Depends, is there evil afoot?
Is there what? Sorry, I didn't catch it.
Foot.
Is there evil afoot?
Upon hearing that question, Arvid just like kind of looks up from what he's been reading, like over his shoulder at the window. And then he looks back over at Terrain. Do crimes against fashion count?
They should.
What?
That depends. How
What
bad?
what brought this on, Arvin?
He points over his shoulder because you guys are at a stoplight that just turned red when you rolled up. He points over his shoulder, and you look. There's a couple of you're fairly certain looking at them. They're just like normal people, but oh my god, they look like they rolled out of like the neon outfits of like the 80s or 90s, whatever the fuck. They're both like clearly well, one clearly looks human, the other one you're not sure. You're not seeing like the front of their face. You're just like seeing the back of their head, but they got this like, it's like just that one era of like neon fashion that just like clashes horribly, and then this one motherfucker just got an afro with like, you're not sure what the fuck he's decorated with, but he's got decorations in that thing and it looks really weird.
Apparently
Also,
you
we
can
got-
turn an afro into a Christmas tree.
Actually, yeah, that's about what it looks like. Well, the difference is the color of this guy's hair is orange. Just a big orange afro. It's very strange. Does Terrain consider this a crime against fashion worthy against his direct involvement?
No. Kind of sighs and mutters under his breath something about this is not the world I fought for.
What do you mean, not the world you
There is
fought
no
for?
justice in this fashion.
Oh wait, that's under his breath. I don't ask that.
Arvin just sees Terrain running. I'm taking that as a not enough to intervene then.
No. Unless they start breaking laws, no.
Arvin like pokes his head over his shoulder. Well, they start trying to hold up that convenience store. I'll let you know. Like, these two are just, like, outside what it would be equivalently a 7-Eleven. Yeah. I mean, you guys have been in the car since about probably 10 a.m. that day, so if you want to, like, stop in town for at least a little bit, then press onwards, you can.
Yeah, stretch the
Yeah.
legs. Let
Yeah.
Celestine run around and do dog things.
Yeah. It's not hard to find a park to pull over at. And then you just release Celestine to be like Kel in Vegas and go after the ducks.
Quack.
Ducks, pigeons, whatever.
My mom
Oof
has
can
video
chase the
footage.
birds.
My mom has video footage of me doing that sort of thing with seagulls when I was like 4.
The proper response to seagulls, let's be real. Yeah.
That sounds like the sigh of Pago's suffering.
Alright. Throw that away. That's an empty water bottle. Let me check notes. Notes. Mission plans, notes. That's okie dokie. Good to know. So like, just so I have a quick idea, like you guys are just milling about around the park, maybe around town real quick, just to stretch your legs for a little bit before you get back on the road.
Basically.
Basically.
Yep.
Terrain's on patrol, as he is wont to do.
Roll perception to spot villainy. With advantage, because villainy.
Because villainy.
Justice.
Well, advantage because justice. You will see.
Come on, roll 20, load.
And yes, for reference, terrain will always have advantage on perception to spot villainy.
A mighty advantage.
Oh yeah. You are very pleased with your findings. There is a minimal amount of, major villainy that isn't being handled by the local police. It's mostly just, few youngins like tagging up something and one of the cops like, hey, no. Or one dude who fucked up on his parking job and didn't read the sign, It's all just like mundane shit, and you're just like, you're seeing justice being served as needed by the authorities. You're like, I am not needed here. Excellent.
Good.
Though, something does catch your eye as you pass a store.
Is it villainy?
No, it's justice, it's heroism, it's you.
What do you mean it's me? Is it a mirror?
It's a comic book store, and there's a comic titled The Stormfront,
boy.
and it shows comic versions of you, your companions, everyone.
Really now?
I was about to say, is it an action figure?
I might be, I don't know.
No, it's it also looks an older comic. It looks vintage, in fact. Like almost the first Superman comic book vintage.
Shit.
And you're like, huh, didn't know any of those survived, because it was near the tail end back in the day. But there was a few people who, wanted to, use your likeness for telling stories, and you guys are all about it because as long as the message was uplifting.
Is the message uplifting?
Absolutely, because you remember reading that particular comic, because it is indeed issue 1 of the Stormfront.
Glorious.
In fact, wait a minute, you look a little closer, you autographed that copy.
Heh.
which, as you then look, explains the price tag on it.
Well, yeah, reasons. I continue my patrol. I am happy.
Okay. Yeah, you continue your patrol unmolested, and also not in dire need of dispensing justice upon villainy.
Of course not. The sacred texts uphold the law for me. Villains dare not show their face in this town. For I am here, in comic book form.
And in actuality,
They don't know that.
they're gonna fucking find out if they start shit. Let's see, what were my notes?
That uses me.
Giacchio, whereabouts in your, like, little, probably hour break wandering around town are you? If you're not chilling with Padma the whole time.
Yeah, I'm pretty much just milling about with Padma the whole time.
Okay, then.
The passive
Kale.
perception is 20
Why?
if that means anything.
What is Celestine doing while everyone's stretching their legs in town real quick? Is he just chasing the birds at the park?
I'm gonna lay down under a tree.
You find the most acceptable tree and perch yourself nearby. A few kids been they're like about 10 feet away, but they're like whispering to each other, like pointing at you. They look like they're about 10-ish.
Play with
Then
the
what-
kids.
The booth plays with little kids.
Yes.
You don't even have to roll. These children are enraptured by this giant booth wanting to play with them. Also has a really good throwing arm, so you have a lot of fun playing fetch.
Yay.
The kids are also summarily impressed by how quickly you can get the ball and come back. Okay, so after your quick break, and I assume, all little stuff, stretch your legs, get some snacks, and then get back on the road around 5:30-ish? Yeah. You, as you guys get back on the bus,
There we go. I'm sorry, I'm fighting with Adobe Flash to do this project.
don't worry about it. I totally understand. Adobe Flash can be a little bitch sometimes. I had to animate it. But, you guys get back to the bus, and, Arvin is... like, you notice on, like, there's, like, this little table in the bus that you guys use, if you're gonna, like, eat on the road. He's, got a few papers spread out about it, and he's, like, looks like he's in serious thought about something.
What are you up to, Arvin? Anything I could perchance help with?
Maybe. Have a seat. He like gestures to the seat across because it's like there's a table and there's a chair on either side.
I do so. I have a seat.
Mm-hmm.
I must sit as well.
Like a little sofa directly across from it. It was where I assumed that Padma and Jackie have been sitting the whole time earlier in the trip.
Yup.
Yeah, but you guys get back on the bus, situate yourselves, and then get back on the road as Arvin's typing on the papers. Something was on my mind as we were leaving.
Oh?
Yeah, she recalled the little diversion Jonna and I had.
Yep.
With, her brother and all.
You recall it a little bit? Yes.
Well, you guys recalled that he left. I actually don't think you ever got the story about that from him.
No, we didn't. I don't think we
Nope.
actually did.
Because they came back and immediately we started dealing with the magical barrier thingy-majigger.
Yeah.
They don't know squat.
You had a...
Yeah. That's about to change.
The diversion was Jono's brother.
Yeah, that was what what she was, like you did hear her mention. It was, did she mention it was her brother when they got back?
I don't think so. I think it was more of a, I need to go take care of something and kind of just disappeared.
And then we came back, and then, yeah, because then you and Arvin came back and, like, it was an experience, but we're on our way.
It was mostly trying to make me not land in the middle of the crowd in Firebird form.
Right, yeah.
As funny as that would have
Yeah,
been.
yeah, okay. I remember it now. Thank you. But, well, seems that the person who had, affected her, that caused her to leave, and then I just followed on a bit of a hunch, was her brother, and, well, you recall that fellow who only stated kill when that demon arrived outside the domain of conflict?
The bandaged fellow?
No, the one with he like gestures like about like a helmet, the one with the helmet. We couldn't see his face at all. He hopped in the bus and then it got blown up and then he was gone before anyone could find him.
Ah.
Well, seems that fellow was actually her brother. Edwin, refresh my memory. Did she comment on believing he was dead when they were talking?
Probably a few times, actually, yeah.
Thank you.
I do remember, well, how the hell are you, like, not dead at this current point in time?
Okay. Well, seemed he was trying to get her out of the city because he didn't believe that the terrorists attacking the town would leave her alive if they had crossed her path.
Sorry.
He was also, by her, apparently presumed dead for what sounded like a fairly long time.
How long is fairly long?
Arwen shrugs. Didn't state how many years, but ballparking her age, I would say, and the way she was certainty of it, presume she thought him dead for at least 10 years? He was a little, unhinged sounding, though. And then he kind of, no. He, wanted to take her to a place in Tekna, apparently. To help with some project of his involving something called the Loaberg.
No.
Oh, bird.
If you're proficient in history, please roll history.
I'm not proficient in history.
Let's see if Fenless is. Fenless
Not
is,
proficient
and he
in
is
it, but I
nearby
have
to hear
plus
this.
4.
Only if you're proficient in history?
This is something you would have to know more than just like passing rumors. You would have to have at least
Okay,
base proficiency
gotcha.
in it, because it's not something you just like casually glean upon beyond like hearing like horror stories of, like, oh, if you're a bad little kid you get whisked off to the Lowerberg by the boogeyman kind of shit.
You would have to be a student of history, basically.
Yeah, you would have to have actually actively learned some history. So we'll use Fenless. Oh god damn, Fenless.
Fenless knows
He
all
knows
about Lowerberg.
everything.
He knows. Fucking hell, he knows.
Jeez, he might as well be from there.
No, you don't want to be from the lower bird.
No, you don't.
Yeah,
Fenless.
sure, he's from there. He's a demon. He's a demon druid all of a sudden.
He's a
He's
vampire.
a
druid.
vampire.
And then I immediately purge him because that's the highest of villainy.
I can think of higher.
I can too, but it's pretty high up there.
Anyway.
Fenless, he's about to sip his tea and he stops as it's like about to reach the lip and then lowers it slightly. Excuse me? And Arvin looks at him.
Something?
You know about it? And he just like sets his It's very interesting. You see him just like look at his tea and then just flash freeze it for a second and set it down. The Lowerberg. Yes. What in the name of all that is good and right in this world would anyone want anything to do with an actual site of a demon worship?
Site of demon worship.
Fenless then, he gives you the TLDR. Basically, the Lowerberg is, by all accounts, your stereotypical skull fortress and potentially capable of flight. Big, black, ominous, lot of actual skulls on it, including like the front gate and everything. Very, very nasty place that, by all accounts, isn't real, has been destroyed, has been buried, or
Generally
like-
be gone, thought.
it's either not real or it's no longer a place accessible to anyone. And it was not beholden to any one demon or any singular source of thing. It was just effectively just a fortress of evil. Now, it didn't matter what like sort of evil you considered your path. If it was evil, you crossed paths with this thing at some point, and it gave you or it tempted you with power, and then did horrible things and enthralled you to then be its eternal guardians. Whereas if you were more spiritually inclined and could control it, you could theoretically raise it and then command its horde of zombified or otherwise undead people to just waste whatever you wanted. So it's very bad. It's like being the king of Gondor, except your ghost army is full of dickheads. And you have a bitchin' skull fortress to fly around in and drop the ghosts on people with. He does it in those exact words. It's a lot more
Eloquent.
more eloquently put, but
Not just villainy, arch villainy.
like from his description though, quick question, is Terrain proficient in history?
No, that's why I asked the first time.
Oh. Well, to be fair, thinking about it,
Given his potential age, would he be able to roll?
Given who you worked with, you would still be able to roll.
Nerp.
Which, to be fair, you don't even need to roll that high because as you're hearing it, it's triggering the memories anyways. I was going to continue on. You don't need to, though, because Fenlis is telling you, and you're hearing it's clicking in your head. And you're just like nodding along. It's like you recall it being described by an old comrade as effectively the nexus of all that is ill and bad and ill and foul in the world.
It must be purged.
Given that Jana suddenly disappeared, did he perhaps somehow take her there, perhaps? By force of some kind that we didn't notice?
Arwen's like, well, he had some means of getting out that he was trying to lead her to, but, well, turns out he was familiar with, at least, well, Arwen, like, kind of rubs his arm, my situation.
If he had knowledge of your situation, I would fathom, I guess, he was involved in some way, shape, or form.
Most likely, and if you recall that fellow we captured in the domain, the one who was carrying Jana initially, identified that man as Care. And indeed, he identified himself as being the one who deposited Jana upon Arias, and then was going to get the little posse who showed up and recognized my cousin. Meaning there's an unfortunately tight-knit connection between him and a lot of bad things we're aware of. And in fact, at this point, you see Arwen like flip around a little. It's like a drawing version of like one of those yarn string conspiracy theorist boards.
Okay, yeah.
It's just like basically just like the whole like thought web for creative process or whatever. It shows like, you know, dude with like Jonas and then in quotation marks Care, Onyx, Arius, Claudius. He doesn't have the actual name of the guy because he doesn't know it, because I don't believe Fenlis ever mentioned it, but he mentions that fellow who screamed when Giacchio leaped out. Then Giasha. And then it's just all connecting to various things, like, you know, Arwen's like the Spectrum Bracer, Padma's past, you know, the experiments and all the jazz, the Diffline facility. It's all in some way connecting to at least some capacity through Care to the other people, or vice versa. There's an awful lot of little things we've seen that's tied together. Although, actually, now that I mention this, one of the bubbles, this one stands out to... Bless you. This one stands out a bit more to Sneck, because just off to the side, unconnected to anything, you just see Faust.
Looks like we're dealing with a more than just random people being randomly evil. It's sort of like there's some sort of collective or some sort of rogues gallery.
Quite so. The only odd one out has been, well, and he taps Faust's name on the thing, that disturbing fellow.
I'd be lying if I said his abilities didn't scare the shit out of me.
I think his abilities scare the shit out of everyone.
Yes, quite. Also, as you look over at Fenlis, who's now gone back to BT, you see he's got Scar helping him thaw his tea back out real quick. Just like Scar just like has a hand like held out, he's still driving, just holding up and just like heating up the tea. There you go. Thank you. Sip.
Question is, who's the one pulling all the strings? And to what purpose?
That one, Arvin like actually taps on a bubble that doesn't have a name in it. It just says, just says ringleader. Cannot remember if his name was mentioned, but Arius did say he was working for someone else. Which means it's well, and then and you notice that like the line from Arius the ringleader is like the only thing there, but Arius then goes to Care, who spiderwebs off into basically everyone else. Because from Care / Jonas, it goes to the Mafia guys, Arius, Claudius, the Spectrum Bracer, and then those ones connect out to where applicable.
I'm trying to remember, do I know the name of this Mafia family, whoever they are, or no? I don't think I do.
The Deadlands.
Deslins.
Admiral would have said
DSLAND.
The tangled web of these things weave.
Very much so.
I assume you know what that family's special at. My thought process
Crime.
is...
Crime, all of it.
What do they specialize in? Like kidnapping or something?
All of
Armin,
it.
My thought
they're the Mafia. They dabble in everything.
My thought process is just that maybe if we can figure out their specialties, we can kind of figure out kind of who's doing what and perhaps try and put something together that way. I don't know if what I'm saying makes any sense.
Possibly. The only fault is the only connections we have to the Deslins are Care and well, our Care and well his little cronies he brought with him. That's why I connected him to the Deslins on the little chart.
Right.
Doesn't seem to be the ringleader because, well, although by associating with them, he then draws a line that wasn't there between Arius and the Deslins. Which means, though it's a in-between at the very least, whoever the ringleader is, he taps on the bubble, knows the Deslins to some capacity. They might not be the same person, but if they're at least in cahoots, if only through Arius as an intermediary, then, well, there's one of two main culprits behind a lot of what we've been seeing. Aside from, well, he taps on Claudius, this fellow who just seems to be have been an asshole before his well-earned demise.
The reason I brought up kidnapping, because this might be just pulling at random strings in the dark, but what if they specialize in human trafficking or sentient being trafficking, which then gets sent to my uncle, who is obviously continuing his experiments in trying to create some sort of living weapons.
Not a bad thought process, but again, there is no specialty for the Deslins. If there's a
Right.
criminal cake they can put their finger in, they put their finger in. It doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
They have no preference except for profit. If it stops being profitable, then they cut it out.
Right. Like I said, it was just a thought.
No, it's not a bad one.
Means, as far as my uncle is concerned, whoever this ringleader is, he's either creating some sort of ultimate weapon for this ringleader, or an army of living weapons for this ringleader, whoever they are. To what end, we don't know, obviously. Which would be
And
my
it couldn't.
guess.
It might not even be living weapons. It might be some process to make oneself stronger, and he's just going through a lot of test subjects because whoever's paying him is like, make me the strongest creature in the world.
For science.
Because I get the impression your uncle doesn't particularly care, as long as he gets to do his research however he sees fit, to whatever ends.
You would be correct in that assumption. He's also selfish enough to where, if he had perfected it and he knew he perfected it, he would probably end up using it on himself. He's selfish enough to do that. That way, no one could stop him from furthering his own experiments to gain even more power.
Just a perpetual cycle, as it were.
Yes. Out of character, I'd be equating him to father of the Full Metal Alchemist series.
Oh god.
Yeah. I can see why you'd say that, yeah.
Just for reference.
Yeah. On the upside, though, and then Arvin crosses out Claudius' name. Whatever his connection, he's no longer in any way involved.
Out of character, remind me, who is Claudius again?
He is the giant mecha drider you got the limit crushers off of. He died in like 2 turns
okay,
and didn't
yeah.
get really to say anything because you guys fucked his shit sideways.
I was sitting here like, wait, who's Claudius?
He was supposed to be more important, but then he got shit on. The whole reason you guys were running around that entire city for so long. But really, whom's just an acceptable reaction to this guy, honestly. I'll accept it at this point. So whatever his ties now no longer matter, but well... Wait a moment.
Maybe we could glean something off of what he was doing either in Megas or somewhere in his past, maybe connect some dots there, figure out what he was doing.
I had a similar thought. He did, according to those fellows we met, Molly and Percival,
Yes.
him and Claudius' little band of misfit asshats had stolen those mechanized suits we had to deal with. And if they could steal what I assume to be prototype high-performance military-grade hardware, well, they could handle they would have been useful for any sort of criminal organization as, meant to, acquire hardware, not so much people. Even if their ends were just like, we just want to kill everyone who isn't Azal in Danakmos.
Given that he was... Wait. Trying to remember, was he Azal himself?
Yes. That is why he was a mecha drider.
And he was terrorizing non-Zals. Okay. Making
Yeah,
sure I heard
basically,
this.
like, just very racist terrorists. Like, if you aren't Azal, get out of Danakmos. And indeed, Skara would chime in just a little bit from his past. Just like, that's been his MO for as long as he's been around. Just like, he believed that Zal were the superior species of the entire planet and should rule over all of it.
That's why
Well-
he's dead now.
Well, those ambitions went to the fucking grave with his dumbass.
Well then, either that was a long-running front, or the ringleader or someone else higher up than Claudius was using that to motivate him to do things for them, such as steal those things to bolster their forces.
Journal entry
It's
Most likely. After all, there's enough fiction out there of some villains motivated by promises to attain their own goals, and those who don't particularly care if they would be on the wrong end of those goals once they come to fruition.
No one ever said villainy was smart.
That too.
He seemed, from what little we saw of him, he seemed more of, I guess if you would compare him to a large mafioso family, he was the muscle. If I had to guess, some level of muscle.
Probably. After all, it's hard to not be the muscle when you're, well, 10 foot tall and a machine.
Very true.
And bearing, Arvin sort of just gestures in the direction of Snackbot, something that makes you even stronger.
Indeed.
Happy beeping.
Whatever his ties. So at the same time, he taps Claudius' bubble again. He was the only thing tying. He was the main thing tying the three. That screamy druid fellow, to which fellow scribes, Courtmaster Varian, and then goes back to sipping his tea.
Emma just looks at him. Screamy guy seems more apt.
After he finishes the sip, it's like he was always very good in choir when he was, less higher up the totem pole. Never heard him hit a note quite that high though.
He probably just needs a lot of motivation.
Who was this
Definitely.
courtmaster to you, Fenless, if you don't mind me asking?
In simplest terms, my direct superior. Be more like he gestures over his shoulder to Skara. Be more like a CEO in a military.
Can you think
Or
of any reason?
whatever the top ranking military person would be, to which Skara just chimes in, roughly a general. Thank you.
Can you think of any reason why he would be running with this group of people, this, I'll say again, rogues gallery, as I've come to like to call them? Just because I like Batman and I like the term.
Yeah, that's a good term. Finless sort of thinks. Another sip of tea. Not really. He's vain, pompous. Needs to be knocked down a few pegs, maybe have a few trees removed from his asshole.
Sounds like your average villain to me.
But he's never done anything actively malicious.
That you know
Is
of.
there anything in his personality? Does he seek more power? Could he be tempted with something?
At some point in his past, he made some grave mistake and lost a great deal of prestige, and has since been working for the court of Dreaming Winter as a means of atonement. But that was, I think, 50 years ago at this point. I've never heard the full story from him. He's honestly not someone I like talking to for very long stretches of time.
Perhaps he
Not
was-
a bad person. The worst thing I've seen him do is get particularly grouchy, but he had just repeatedly smashed most of his left leg on several tables when that happened. And to be fair, anyone would be very grouchy after that.
Perhaps they're either threatening him or promising with some sort of fast track to higher prestige. Maybe.
No. The only higher prestige that what he has would be one of the more prominent seats in the ruling council. Hold on, I need to actually check Fenlis's backstory about this. Okay, my mistake. He's already the Court of Winter's representative for the... Well, him and... Yes. Been a while. He's the representative for the Court of Seasons, the part of the ruling body of Cavalli. So unless he has aspirations for world domination, which I feel like he never would, because that much paperwork would cause him probably to violently combust from sheer frustration. If anything, he might be more motivated to protect his own hide. Not out of malice, but more desperation.
And perhaps the threat might not be far off the mark then. They're threatening him in some way.
Well, there's a fair number of... There's not a great number of Zal and Cavalli, but there's a few. And, well, I could see how a Zal supremacist threatening him with presumably a lot of pain, destruction, and subjugation, trying to kind of deal with him would be within his line of motivation.
Now remind me, the web is ringleader to who again? To everyone else?
It goes from... I may have to actually make this at some point just so you guys have it as a visual aid. But it starts... There's the bulb for the ringleader, which connects to Arius. From Arius, he splits and connects to the... directly to Care, who in turn connects to the crossed out bubble of Claudius, which then goes to Onyx, Courtmaster Virion, and Zayasha. And Zayasha then goes off to other things, but Care also connects to the Spectrum Bracer, the Deslins, and yeah. Again, the only thing really not connected in some way to someone else is just Faust, who's just up there by himself.
Care is in custody, or did we kill him? No, we didn't kill him.
No, Care got away. Because Care is Jonah's brother, Jonah.
Oh, that's
Arius got caught and then got away.
He was forcibly teleported in the domain of conflict, wasn't he? Because
Yes.
we had some. Yeah, we had someone.
You had him. You had Arius just in custody along with a few of the mercs.
Yep. And then he got forcibly ported out of there.
Yeah, and Arius is forcibly ported out. And also, for reference, Jonah was teleported out by way of a, effectively a teleportation tripwire trap.
Yep.
That was right outside right outside the portal you guys came through.
That I can remember.
But, backing up a little bit to Care for a moment. His whole thing was he wanted to use... He had some machinations involving the Loeberg and his hometown.
Did he say what that hometown was?
Didn't give a name, but apparently the town is run by a cult devoted to what on the surface appears to be the goddess of dawn, Arella. In actuality, it's devoted to the demon of night. And, well, from the sound of it, they did something terrible to Jonah, and Jonah held off the town while she escaped. Is roughly the gist of what seemed to be going on in their conversation. He also asked a curious question.
And what was that?
What makes a god a god?
That's a curious question. That question does mull in my head for Alias to potentially pick up if he so chooses.
I'm like thinking what his response would be if he has one, so I might get back to you on that.
Like, that's a good question. I don't know.
I don't know. Alias.
Oh,
What do you want? I just kind of
Okay, I have an answer. I have something then. As you like sort of mulling over that question, you just hear this like faint rattling. It's like someone from like 3 rooms over, just like sort of shouting at their microphone, like they're in the kitchen or something. And it's like, creating all of existence for starters, you fuckhead!
I'm partially thinking what else, and it's like, well, that's the obvious one, Alias. I'm muttering that semi under my breath.
And you then hear in the back of your head again, it's like, you're welcome!
Wait, what did I miss?
Alias finally snarking at Chiakio for the first time in a while. Because Arvin mentioned that, Jana's crazy brother mentioned the question, what makes a god a god?
And Alias's snarky wisdom creating all of existence.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever that's worth. My personal thought would be some sort of omnipotence.
There's a lot of easy answers.
Yes.
Although, say, Terrain.
Yes.
I assume you've been around Kantara a few times. Professor Eva did mention you were
Might
rather
say
well
that.
traveled. You ever heard of a dragonborn by the name of Faust?
I don't think I know his last name in character, so I don't think so. It's like
Arvin,
you mentioned it to me, but I don't think.
Yeah, no. Like Arvin, like then starts like snapping on his fingers. Giacchio,
Faust.
Huh?
Joseph Faust.
Does Sneck say that out loud?
Yeah.
Yes, that one. The one that one fellow from Dragonroar mentioned, who told us about after Celestine dealt with him via a tree.
Thinking emoji. Describe him.
In and out of character, Arvin.
Just info dump the description here.
Yeah, just basically the only difference between the guy. Well, actually, no, there is no difference. The only difference, yeah, physical description wise, there is no difference between the Dragonborn man that everyone except Eleanor saw at the ruins of Castle Farnot. and the villain who was involved in your last grand outing with the Stormfront. That was identified by that fellow named Grimm as Joseph, as opposed to... Fuck, I don't actually remember what the name I gave him was.
It was some weird, like, pseudonym or something, I don't know.
I'd have to look it up.
It was his grand villain name of the time period, let's go with that.
Okay, 1 second, hold on.
Grim was how old again? I think he told us his age.
240.
Things and stuff is about to go down in this bus.
Hold on, I need to scroll up a bit for a thing, because I know roughly. Ah! Ah, that was it. Okay. That you would have known the man by that description as, at first would have been Ranther Selvik, and then his true name of Joseph was revealed to you by your associate Grimm at the time. You never heard his last name, but given how he's been referred to as Joseph Faust and the description lines up with what you remember, it's the same guy. Your sense of justice is certain of this.
Like I put in the Roll20 chat, justice.exe has stopped responding. We are currently experiencing incoherent what?
Terrain. Arvin, like, so something wrong, Terrain?
A lot of things are wrong right now.
Have you encountered that man before?
He should not be alive. Because I remember that man. He seems to have not aged, and that greatly concerns me.
How do you know him?
He's why I'm here.
Oh?
You encountered Faust and survived?
In a manner of speaking.
That's honestly impressive.
Not really.
Did you fail to notice how he sucked the mana out of anything he touched?
Do not
Good.
believe he had that ability back then.
As far as you knew.
I don't know, I was busy being thrown through time.
At that moment, you hear as the bus like starts to careen off to the side and come to a stop on the side of the road.
I think I broke our driver.
And like you guys like kind of lurch in place a little bit. Dimitri like almost falls off the like the shelf he'd perched himself on, a little squawk.
Fascinating.
Once you're pulled over, there's like a long like about 10 seconds before Skara takes one hand off the wheel, puts it over the back of the driver's seat, and looks back at you. I'm sorry, what?
What?
Yeah, did you just say thrown forward
Also,
through
Fenlis has been
time?
staying out with a mouthful of tea this entire time, just like eyes wide. The teacup is held up, and it's just there.
Pamela just looks at him. Swallow, please.
Gulp. Puts teacup down. What?
So, it happened like this. I was raiding his compound with compatriots of mine on a tip from some rather roguish fellow. And we found him, wanted him in his laboratory, and as I went to hit him, he cast something, and suddenly I'm 200 years not where I was.
He did not cast that spell.
Not cast the spell.
No.
Never gave me complete details on what happened.
That's mainly because I didn't give you the details because Terrain doesn't know. By his account, he went to strike and then just boom, 200 years.
Well, there you go. Went to hit him with my mighty sword of justice, and suddenly, where am I? When am I? The fuck?
How are you?
Who are these compatriots of yours?
Stormfront. We are apparently prominently featured in comic books in this time frame.
So Arvin like hears that and then he like picks up his phone, just like quickly phone Google searching.
Googling the Stormfront.
Pat just kind of pauses. Yeah, I have seen those around a few times. Like,
And then Eleanor just
I
says,
thought you
I
were
think
just a
I might
very
have bought one of those.
I just looked at. I thought you were a very good, enthusiastic cosplayer. Full honesty.
Arvin like pauses. He then like turns around and he's holding up a picture on a Wikipedia article. If I'm not mistaken, that's a picture of you, isn't it? And indeed it is.
Yes, it is.
And it's
Again.
like a kind of old black and white-ish style photo of you just like standing there with like, you know, the All Might smile.
That would be me in my heyday, yes.
That's... He flips it back, checks the tin. That was 200 years ago.
Yes, it was. So he lives. Good
And is
to
now
know.
absorbing. And he's
Did you-
living by absorbing mana out of everything.
Was one of your compatriots a man by the name of Grim by chance?
About him. Don't tell me he's alive too.
Yeah.
He's
Yep.
the one who told us more details about Faust. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, Faust is the reason why he's still alive?
From what I remember,
Well,
of what he told
then.
us.
Pamela
They-
looks at Zakio. Didn't you see something around him?
His crew on the ethereal plane.
So he's being followed around by a bunch of ghosts?
It would seem so. I believe he told me they were his crew.
You would be correct. There was about 50, almost 60 of them.
Good number of them, too.
Don't suppose you happen to know where either of those people are?
Not Faust, because he kind of got thrown through space, through time, not through time, through the air by a magic tree.
Arvin then sort of pat Celestine on the shoulder. Big guy. Yeah. Arvin's getting Celestine's attention. Celestine, how exactly did you throw that man who was being all scary and angry with that tree again? How did you do that?
I didn't do that. Mama did it.
Ah, okay. Thank you. And he hands Celestine a cracker.
Yay, cracker.
Well, I say cracker. It's more like one of those like Scooby-Doo cinnamon cookies. Looks like doggy treats.
I gingerly take it from his hand with my mouth. I'm not one of those doggos where you lose limbs giving
Gonna
treats.
eat your hand! Nom!
No. And then he just sticks his head back out the window.
Yup.
So he was thrown in some direction by a tree. Grim! He works for Dragonroar, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Huh. Also, Terrain, the name Dragonroar is passingly familiar to you. You know of them, but not much about them beyond, well, by your understanding, they were, in your opinion, someone who carried on the spirit of the Stormfront. So, you know very little about them beyond, well, they're there and they're doing good.
Well, most of them are.
Perhaps we should see if we can get a hold of Grim for you.
I doubt very much he would like to speak with me. It
Arvin's
probably
like-
would not end very well for him.
Arvin then pauses like, well, one way to find out. And he sort of gets up from the table, goes over to where the phone is, that little phone booth in the party bus, and starts dialing shit up. Let's find out.
Padma just quietly gets up and goes to a different room in the bus because she does not want to behold this shitstorm. She's just, okay, no thank you.
She just cuts to the bathroom and just chills in the tub for a little bit.
She's, I'm overheating. I'm gonna draw cold water and soak. Do Undine things.
Few minutes, Arwen's like, yeah, hello. It's, the crew with the bus again. The who now? Okay. Who decided to call us that? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Like, you see him pinch the bridge of his nose? Right. Just no. We'll get back to you on that, probably. But, Is your boss around? Need to speak with him about something. You didn't need to shout so close to the microphone. Alright. Thank you. Arvin then puts his hand over the receiver. Well, they're getting their boss. And, can any of you think of any reason why apparently they decided to call us the Cannoneers?
No.
Supposedly it's because of the cannon that was on this bus? What?
We didn't even keep that cannon.
Apparently
What?
it was that one fellow who was walking around with the keytar. I don't know.
Oh. Wait, Keytar, that's Barbas, right?
Barbosa.
Barbosa. Quite the random fellow.
Yes. Hello? Marcus, thank you. I have a question. You have someone by the name of Grim in your employ, yes?
Hmm?
No, we don't want to throttle him or file a complaint. At least I don't. Arvin looks out of the booth towards Terrain. Can you ask if he recalls someone by the name of Terrain? He then pauses, looks back at Terrain. How do you spell your name?
Justice.
Arvin pulls his phone out of his pocket, goes to search history. Tarayn. Though also alternatively spelled justice, apparently. They're getting him, and also apparently their boss likes the cut of your jib.
Good.
Uh-huh. I see. Well, thank you. Sorry for the trouble. Good day, and don't let that crazy fellow give us a name in your roster again, please. Right. Goodbye. Click. Well, seems he's not presently at their main facility, though when quickly messages about it, he does not recall anyone by that name.
He will.
Or then like kind of like looks Turain up and down. Well, I imagine when your fist is at the minimum introducing itself to his face, I'm sure he will. Oh baby, I need to see what this is. Click. Continue to YouTube.
I will find him!
Why did I expect anything else?
Tori the
Don't
cat.
have much to answer for.
The cat in inner release getting the fucking Dracoon tether. That's great. Okay, water bottle, come here. Okay. At that whole thing, Scar's just like, right, and then you see him like just turn on the radio and just get back on the road again.
Padma emerges eventually.
I'm
Hey.
playing
He's just
Arvin
going
with
to
his
climb
invest-
onto the roof of the bus and brood.
He's just sitting on the roof of the bus. Okay. I'm not even gonna have you roll for like how the fuck you get up there. I imagine you're determined enough to make it regardless.
Yes.
Oh god. uh.
I'm equal
Okay,
parts.
but,
I'm equal parts helping Arvin at this point with his investigation as well as researching more into the Blood Hunters schools. Now that I know a little more about them thanks to Molly Mock.
Yep. Taliesin's a cool dude. Anyway. You guys probably get a little further along in the... Well... are you guys just like going to try to go as nonstop as you can to the reef?
Basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just take a look at how many places and things you have to cross the path of first. Because, oh boy, that's a long way.
Yeah. You gotta go down through Tekna, up through Kovali. That way.
Then we gotta jump on a boat.
We are a boat.
I don't think our boats can cover that much distance.
Well, you can certainly find out. Well, to be fair, the distance from the far right side to the far left side isn't as long as it is shown on this map. I just couldn't like really shrink it that well. Cause like fucking let me get set to the proper setting. Because like let me just circle it real quick on the map. This island here should roughly be about over here on the right on this side of the map, so it's a lot closer than it looks.
Okay.
Like that's the actual distance of those thingies. Dude, boop. Then get rid of it.
I've been up for almost 20 hours, so I think I'm
Nice.
gonna go
Go to bed right now.
Discord and lay in bed.
Yeah, go to bed.
Go to bed, Cal, right now. I insist.
I shall return.
Alrighty. Okay, but in that case, travel time. It'll take the whole trip for basically nonstop. That would be about from where you are now down here, cross Techna up to here-ish. You know, going up around, no, shit the right way. Up to the coast, that would take, well, unless that's assuming you guys want to go down around, unless you want to cut across here and cut off some time. Because you could technically bypass Techna entirely and just cross.
As long as Terrain gets to punch the villain, because he needs to punch the villain right now. Woe betide the person who litters in my presence at this point.
Oh boy.
Terrain is in a bad mood.
Well, yeah. Did you guys want to cut across?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So from there, then it's about another 3 days ish. And you sort of from the route you take to go around, instead of cutting down through Techna, you bypass the capital of Danakmos, Svantik, entirely. As you were up here and Svantik is right around here, and you guys just went this way instead. So yeah, this is where Svantik is, and then you guys went this way. And you come to a insert name later fucking port town. And managed to... It's, given how it's not like this little spit up here that you drove across, which was manageable with your boat, with your you know, the boat bus, you can't, in good conscience, claim you'll be able to drive all the way across this shit as successfully. Cries in metal. You'll have a chance to come back, Sneck. Don't worry.
Yay.
And to be fair, you've passed by a few towns along the way, so you've had chances to pick up the Nakmo souvenirs.
Yay.
Mm-hmm. But that's, yeah, you'd be able to easily get the bus on a ferry and get across into Cavalli. So just to save time. It's several days on a fairly large multi-passenger like ferry, basically. More like a one of those big like oil tankers kind of.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of like, oil or whatever, it's carrying vehicles and shipments of stuff and passengers. So you're able to get across that way. You have to a few times keep Celestine from jumping off the side and going for a swim.
Honestly, they probably have a built-in pool on the boat.
Yeah, that's how you were able to eventually distract him effectively. There's like an actual swimming pool, and the Celestine has a good time. Also, terrain. Roll me 2 d20s. Along the way, before you guys get onto the boat, terrain, you managed to successfully punch about 5 entire villains into the hands of the police.
I feel better now. I mean, I was mentally pasting Faust's face onto each one of them, but I feel better now.
Yeah, no. One guy in particular was your favorite. You clotheslined him as he was trying to make a getaway from a bank. You just and he hit the ground. Arm out. And with that, you guys make it to Cavalli. And then get back on the road. Fucking shit. Oh, god damn it, I don't have towns for this place either. God damn it, past me! Why you betray me?
Top 10 anime betrayals.
Shut up. Oh, you shut the hell up, Snack. I haven't seen that movie. Huh. Anyway. Oh, yay. Because of things, I actually have some names I can use. Okie dokie. After leaving I'm not gonna use it for the whatever fucking port town you came to in Cavalli. Another 3 days from there down, that was day 4, so around like a week in from leaving Megas, you get to about here, which shaved like about, it was like going all the way down around Tekna would have taken you like another maybe another week to get around it. Bypassing like this, you just, shaved an entire week off the travel time.
Yay.
And you eventually come across fuck. Do I have a name for this place? No, I don't. Damn it, passed me. Whatever. You start coming across this this very, very large lake. And you notice at least the people who aren't natively from Cavalli, so everyone who isn't Celestine and hasn't been through there like Padma has. or isn't Fenless, because Fenless has also been through here because he lives here.
I probably went through there a few times, 200 years ago when everything was different.
It's not that different. About the same number of trees everywhere.
I mean, everything else but the trees.
Yeah. But you understand a bit more why this place is a bit more, despite the fact it doesn't have the Yggdrasil Reef as part of it, it's still very devoted to Vernai. And that's because apart from a steam forest like what Danakmos has, basically any kind of like terrain where you could find trees or plants or anything is here. There's a rainforest, there's a temperate rainforest, there's temperate, there's tropical. It's a little weirdly all over the place, but well, given how the whole section of this particular part of the continent is very suffused with just in general nature magics, you figure that's part of what's letting very basically diametrically opposing climates to just exist near each other without like the world just being fucked. And eventually you come upon the, what was its name again? The city of Folsun. Folsun. Near the this here big ol' lake. And oh god damn it, map, you're not helping me right now. Damn it, map.
You said Folsun?
Yes. This here big ol' lake. The Cerbigal. Anyway, you come across the city of Folsun. It's reminds you a lot of port of Xeris Harbor way back over in Illicert, just on the edge of something lush and not a fucking desert. And it's a very interesting sight, again, for the people who haven't at least come by Cavalli at any point, at any time period. Because in a lot of the ways that, like, when you saw the above and a few times underground sections of cities in Danakmos where everything looked, properly futuristic and shit, this all looks like very, well, if you could basically, it sounds very weird, but it's basically druidic magitech.
Nice.
Like, it's all clearly like trees and structures and things shaped and grown to act as buildings and clearly have like some way cybernetic looking components, but it's all completely naturally done. And at least that much is actually kind of new to terrain. You've seen like Cavalli, you knew that back then Cavalli mainly just grew trees into buildings and houses and such, because like, hey, why just make a building when you can just grow a giant redwood into an office complex? And that way you're not killing an entire tree. You have a tree that also has purpose for people to use. The more magitech-y style one is a bit more of a recent development. That has happened since terrain was last able to walk Kunsara. But Let's see.
Neat that they keep with the times in their own way.
Huh?
Kind of neat that they keep with the times in their own way.
Yeah. But you guys find your way to the... Do I have a name for it? I do. I think, maybe. Possibly. God damn it, these notes suck! How am I this terrible at things?
Because DMing is hard.
Shut up.
He's not wrong.
I know, but shut up. The... you come up to the Golden Grove Inn. Or, well, Golden Grove Hotel. And it actually kind of lives up to the name because, as befitting the fact that, like, you guys are getting closer to, or, like, in autumn, the, like, there's clearly, like, gold, like, inlays in place around the thing, but also the trees match, you know, the autumnal colors, as they should. Which stands out because I believe, actually... Fuck, I'd have to look at the map generator thing again, but I think that's... Fuck, I don't remember what that fucking exact color translates into in terms of, climate, but... Whatever, there's... It's fucking, like, nice autumn colors now. Shut up. And, get yourself some rooms, and we're actually going to call the session there because... fuck, there's gonna be some stuff going down probably, and I would like to have that prepared ahead of time. So we're
People here. And have people here
probably
because Justice will not be here. It's a sadness.
yeah.
Very well.
But yeah, that's where we're gonna call it for this week. Because I was not as prepared as I thought I was. What the fuck? I didn't click on that. I closed his fucking thing.
I'll be right back. Alright, that's gonna do it for my stream here this evening. Thank you all so much for watching. I will be a little late starting tomorrow, simply because we're not raiding, because some people are going to be out on holiday for Labor Day. So we will be starting at about 7:38 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Until then, guys, peace.